Ako si Thieza at ito ang aking kwentong kalikasan. My name is Thieza Verdijo. I'm currently the Deputy Director of Xavier Science Foundation Incorporated. I'm here to tell you about my story, to share with you the kind of work that I do in the foundation and what motivates me to do the job that I do and love it as much as I can. For me, actually, siguro since I was as a kid, I'm always curious. Parang I want to explore kasi I love science. That's why I wanted to become a doctor. Parang I get fascinated with little things. What inspired me to do that was because I was exposed to seeing things, community work. I was invited, and that's also where it started. I was still a student in DevCom, actually graduating. Of course, I've seen sa mga school activities like doing immersions. That was part of it, But for me, not seeing it as a career gyud. I love it. I love doing things. Pero of course, there's that parang plans of the family for you to be, in a corporate world and stuff like that. And since I love volunteering work, sige, uban ko. So daghan me actually. So we went there as a class, and then we went to this community and we met up with the Koreans. Now there were about 20 or so Korean students, and they were there to do some community work. And the fact that I am a Filipino, and Koreans are coming to the Philippines to help. It's a slap on my face. Why are you not helping your fellow Filipinos? So that actually, I wrote about it. That was really an awakening for me. Kay tungod lagi, naadi ko'y dapat buhaton. And that started it all, that passion of doing this kind of work now. So continuing it. So regardless of how difficult the trail would be. I walked to Mount Kitanglan. At that time, nag-volunteer ko. And then I was called, kay nag-submit naman ko application. Gitawagan ko sa foundation nga, ma'am, interviewon ka na kay schedule. But then, of course, opportunity came. So I have a lot of roles actually in the foundation. So I handle projects. I also am the administrative officer. And now with that parang responsibility of being a deputy director, encompasses everything in the organization. I see this kind of work as not really work, but really, it's part of my life. It's life actually. So that's why dili siya difficult sa ako ang kanang buhato ni siya regardless of asa lagi kagibutang, layo kaayo, halos di na ka mukaon, halos magutman ka sa dalan, ma-stranded ka sa when I was exposed to this kind of work, community work, parang I felt sad nga there's this community pa di ay. All the more nga naka-expose ko sa inani nga klase nga community, inani nga klase nga work, inani nga road trip. Na-realize na ko nga there's really that need pala di ay. Kanang you wake up very early in the morning, travel for so long, and then coming to the community, talking to them, and sharing to them unsa man ang inyong projects, unsa man ang inyong mga activities, and thereafter they kanang absorb it bitaw nga maski wala na ka ilahang buhaton, kabalok ka nga sincero sila sa imuhang ginabuhat. These are our communities. They are the BYKs, the Bantay sa Yutang. currently, we are now in Sitio San Ginto. This is at the foothills of Mount Kalatungan Range. Well, Xavier Science Foundation, that's the foundation that I've working in now. It's a 53-year-old foundation, and it has been founded by Father William Masterson. Xavier Science Foundation is a foundation that works to support development programs and projects. It acts as a conduit of funds. It's initiator of innovative programs, and then it's also a forum for dialogue. So that is our mission. And we really work to support, or we envision that Mindanao to be hunger-free and competitive. The foundation initiated or worked in an initiative called the Payment for Ecosystem Services back in, I think, 2014. That's also the time where I started in the foundation. And the Payment for Ecosystem Services is a mechanism, a financial mechanism that supports IP communities to be able to plant trees, at the same time gain incentives from the work that they do, from planting trees. The very reason it was initiated, it's also for the fact that many of our forests are now denuded, or at the time, the country is faced with, a lot of logging, a lot of deforestation, and we experienced that in Cagayan de Oro in 2011 with the Sendong, flash floods, and that really destroyed many of our communities in the downstream communities, especially in major cities like Cagayan de Oro, Iligan City, and neighboring municipalities. And that was a big awakening also, for our part as city dwellers, because we really did not expect it to happen, And through the many studies conducted thereafter, it was found out that most of the floodwaters came from the subwatershed found within the Kalatungan range. And the very reason why there was flooding is because the watersheds are denuded. There are no more trees that hold on to the water, and that's caused flash flooding. So from then on, it was even more strengthened, the fact nga because of deforestation, dako kaayo di ay og dilubyo nga maikahatag na sa atong mga komunidad. We are grateful for our indigenous peoples communities residing within the Kalatungan range, because as part of their culture, they really support, or they continue to do that reforestation at their own accord. No one is telling them, but it's really part of their culture, Mansion! Dayon. Si Dato Minyo, he's the tribal advisor of NAMAMAYUK, and si Ate Angelina Ginto, the wife of Dato Minyo, also a woman leader here in NAMAMAYUK. Sila ang atong mga BYKs or bantay sa Yutang Kabilin.
Aron ang among kalasangan, amo kanang protektahan, diha ang tanan, kay kanang kalasangan namo, mao kana ang among merkado, kay diha pi magkuha kun unsa ang among mga panud-anon. Kana mao kana ang among kalasangan, mao ang among isip usa ka kuhaan og tambal, kay ana ang mga herbal, ug amo usab giprotektahan ang mga kalanggaman. Ang tanan hayop nga naa sa sulod ni ana sa kinaiyahan, hasta katong mga tao, ilabi na tong mga gagmayng bata among giprotektahan, kay sila ang mapabili ni ana muangkon sa hangtod.
Dili lang kay ang gibantayan sa BYK ang kalasangan ra, usab nga giprotektahan ang among customary nga tradisyon.
It was only then realized by many of us na dili nila mabuhat kung sila lang. So, di ba, murag sila gatrabaho para sa kalasangan, ilang ginaatiman, ilang ginaprotektahan. Pero kita nga mga naa sa syudad, unsa pud kaha ang atong pwede buhaton, And that's where the PES mechanism was initiated. In a sense that we support through payment of the resources that we get from nature, from the environment, by planting trees, or and that is being paid to the communities who plants them. So that's a part of the incentive that they would get. The very reason nga nung mo partner with the IP communities is because sila na ang naa dito. It's their land, it's their part of their culture, no? So what we can only do is to incentivize what is being already in practice by the community. So karon gabaklay ta padulong sa community nga nursery. Naa dinhi ang ilahang mga seedlings, mga endemic trees. Ubay-ubay pod ka layon pero kaya raman nitabok ta og sapa. Unya naata karon sa nursery nga gihimo sa NAMAMAYUK, giubanan sa proyekto sa MINMAF.
K1.
Ha?
K1.
K1?
Oh.
Anong K1 man?
Maunay among tawag ana.
Ang inyo sa nilumad nga ngalan niya.
Lumad.
The foundations finds it relevant for us, no, to promote and advocate payment for ecosystem services. It's not just again planting trees. I mean, everyone can probably plant a tree. But the idea of planting a tree or, making sure that it grows, making sure that it will really, be there for the longest time. It will outlive us probably.
Ako si Dato Ibayaw, Elpidio Suklatan. Pinaka-importante kining nursery, abi na namo kaming mga lumad, mga manubong lumad nga niya dinhi sa palibot sa bukid sa Kalatungan, kay ang kinaiyahan mao kanay giisip namo nga among kinabuhi.
So ang mga liso ani nga lawaan that's kay gikan ra gihapon din sa community, no. I think this is one key factor why there is a need to support the indigenous people's communities is because they have the knowledge and the skills and even, the old practices, cultural practices that they have been doing even the time when we were around, no? So in terms of protection and protecting the environment. So who are the better people to do these kinds of stuff? Given that we are working in a Kalatungan landscape, in Bukidnon, and it's a protected area. And so here, Forest Foundation came about. In 2014-2015, we started off a project with them. It's we call it Eco Seed Project. So it's really an enhancement of community capacity for sustainable ecological development and economic development. So we support the communities. At first, our pilot for 2 years is only 2 communities, but both are in Kalatungan area. And then thereafter, we also saw that there are other potential partner communities. And so on the second phase, we entered an agreement with Forest Foundation Philippines to have a project with them, EcoSeed Phase 2, for 5 years. And this comprised 6 IPOs here within Mount Kalatungan Range. Forest Foundation is again very much focused on forest conservation. That's one of their mandates, to support communities, to support programs and projects that advocates forest conservation management. The past 5 years that we have worked with the communities, the IP communities, I think the one visible impact that we have done in the program or in the project is the construction or the establishment of the Turugan. It's the tribal hall, if we call it that. This is a place where they really revered to as a sacred place, in a sense that this is part of their culture. This is where they make their decisions. This is where they conduct their meetings. We are now at the Sitio San Ginto. This is the Turugan, or the tribal hall of the NAMAMAYUK, the Indigenous Peoples Organization. So this was established with support from Xavier Science Foundation and Forest Foundation Philippines. So this was one of the parang major output of the project nga EcoSeed 2. So it's like a place for sleeping, no? But more than just a quarter for sleeping, parang it's also a venue for the IP community to meet. So this is where the meetings are held. Yun, any special occasion should revolve around the turugan. Various rituals are also being done here. So since we are partners with the community, so every time nga naami dinhi and we have parang 2-3 days nga mga activities, series of activities, then we get to stay here. So, yeah, this is the quarter. Hi ga, sulod da. Oy, naday suga. So, yeah, the youth, pag naa sila dinhi sila ga-camp in. So, these are tents that are provided in the project. For us, siguro sa project at that time, parang, sige, we will just construct a building, no? Parang ganon. But later on, we realized na, this is really more than just a building. So I think if you ask them, that's the most answers that we get from the community in terms of the impact.
Ang usa sa mga nindot kay nga kausaban, sir, partigyong ninduta tungod kay ang dugay na namong ipangandoy nga gitawag bitaw og kaning lumadnon nga pagpadagan sa lumandong panggamhanan o indigenous people's governance. Karon hinay-hinay namo nga napakita sa among mga kabataan kay dunami usa ka luna or dunami usa ka venue diin kung dunami panghimuon sama pananglitan kung dunay mga husayonon. Dunay pribasiya ang tribo nga maghisgot sa mga problema mahitungod anang panagbangi or conflict. Nga didto kaning mga batanon nahimo siya nga usa ka tulunghaan para mabansay namo sila kung unsa ang justice system sa lumad. So adunay venue gyud makaobserbar sila.
So PES Pangantucan activity. So again, this is a pilot or a phase 2 of the PES initiative by XSF here in Kalatungan. Aside from just again planting, there has to be parang you have to take care of the entire program. So there has to be some meetings, there has to be planting, area monitoring, and other activities. So the role of the core team is essential in terms of facilitating all these activities. So that's where the capacity building also comes in. We have to train them on financial management. We have to train them on project management. We have to train them on forest conservation, mga inana nga klase, landscape governance. So those things para mas ma-widen ang ilahang experience, even knowledge and the skills are being enhanced.
Pag-abot sa panahon na ang XSF pinagi ni Ma'am Ting nahitabo nga naa miturukan ni adto din karon ang dako kaayo nga kuan karon kanini ang ebidensya kanang gibuhat sa mga batan-on nga naa diha mo ni siya ang kadtong genealogy para sa among ancestral domain as required by National Commission Indigenous People sa among application sa CADTI kon Certificate of Ancestral Domain Title. Imbes nga mga hingkod ang muduot diha sa genealogy, sila na ay venue. Mga batan-on gikan sa mga hamlets or mga sityos diin na butang ang namamayok, pagsubay balik, pag-trace up sa kadtong unsa day atong kagikan kay nganong ancestral domain. Kinsa ba itong mga ancestors?
True to its name, NAMAMAYUK is Nagkahiusang Manobong Manununod sa Yutang Kabilin. So, they are united, one manobo, united for that common goal of protecting the ancestral domain. So, and for the generations to come. So, it's really not for them nga karon nga mga leaders, but it's really for their for the next generation. The communities are there already in the area, even before we have all these mechanisms in place, no. And as indigenous peoples, it's again, as I said, it's part of their culture. So no one is telling them what to do. It's not us telling them. However, I believe protecting the environment or conserving the environment is a shared responsibility. It's not just for the IPs alone. It's not just for the community downstreams alone, but it's a coexistence of us as human beings with nature or with the environment. If we see ourselves as human beings, then it is our responsibility to take care of the environment. And probably no one will have to tell you. It should be felt deep down inside. While others would have some, turning point na kay giignan ko or kay nakita na ko or kay na-experience na ko. But more importantly, I think it's how you feel, And I know for a fact that I cannot do it alone, and there should have to be people working and together on this endeavor. The very reason why I'm still here again is because there's still a need for me to be here.
Ang gikatsadahan lang na ko kang mamting, and dili lang ako but the whole community. Ang ihang ka down to earth as a person. Kabalo siya makiduyog kung dapat asa siya madto, dapat unsaon pagrespeto ang isip usaw ka lang lumad. Kung positibo ang ato ang ginahisgutan, dako kayo siya impact para sa ako as sir, kay isa siya sa nag-umol sa ako as a person.
People around me telling me that you are a lady, you are not supposed to be doing this kind of work because you should be in a corporate or sitting in in an office room, air conditioned. But why chose going to the mountains? Well, it's fresher here. It has a nice view and all of that, and it lets you connect to that inner self. So people may not understand it or may not have realized it, but maybe in time they will, and hopefully that would also be a choice that young people would make in the future. Well, I'm not for certain the kind of legacy that I will leave for once I depart this world. But I just hope na whatever step I took on this path, on this journey of my development work, even my experiences and my exposure, someone would also step on it. Protecting nature protecting the environment is protecting the people. It's not, again, separate. Always for us, for humanity to consider nature as our abode, as our home, and we have to take care of it. Nature will again continue doing its own thing, but for humanity who has that capacity to think, who has that capacity to, do things, it's us who should take responsibility, and we should take care of the environment, not the other way around.